Our borders are out of control.
Lawless chaos.
We've always defined ourselves as a nation of immigrants.
This economy could not function without them.
Undocumented workers broke our immigration laws.
The jobs they hold might otherwise be held by citizens. The public service they use impose burdens on our taxpayers.
They must be held accountable.
The United States government's immigration agenda has been one of fear and control.
We are proposing an immigration plan that will ensure their swift deportation.
But at the same time, threats of raids and deportations are being sensationalized, further keeping undocumented immigrants in the shadows. For all of us who sincerely want to resolve the problem, we need to ask, what's the root cause and how do we deal with it? In 1986, with bipartisan support, President Reagan passed the biggest immigration reform to date, the Immigration Reform and Control Act, or IRCA. IRCA has three significant components: amnesty for those who came before 1982, an arbitrary cutoff point that made those who came afterwards illegal, strengthening border security, a rhetoric repeated by all his successors that only make undocumented immigrants feel more at risk of getting caught. But the most hideous is the employer sanctions provision.
With regard to the employer sanctions, this we must have.
We need to hold employers to account for the workers they hire.
Contrary to what Reagan and his successors claim, employer sanctions has done the exact opposite. Instead of punishing bad employers, the law makes it illegal for undocumented workers to make a living.
We'll enforce our immigration laws at the worksite and give employers the tools to verify the legal status of their workers. So there's no excuse left for violating the law.
And we're implementing and improving a system to give employers a reliable way to verify that their employees are here legally.
With this tool to check the workers' immigration status, the employers essentially become patrols over undocumented workers, forcing them to work as cheap labor and face deportation when they speak out against the working conditions.
Many employers hire people who they know are undocumented because employers can then exploit workers, and then once the workers who are seen as troublemakers because they're challenging the non-payment of wages or challenging violations of safety, then the employer can always check on your authorization to work as a way to basically shut down any kind of organizing or any kind of complaints and protests.
Consequently, employer sanctions serves to deprive the rights and create an underclass of labor and empower unscrupulous bosses, including Donald Trump.
There's a lot of forces that want undocumented labor, pretend that they don't want it, or maybe convince us that, we're supposed to fight each other and fight them. But in the back door, they're more than happy to have undocumented workers because they're more vulnerable for exploitation, for hyper-exploitation.
The bosses, they know we are undocumented. Citizen worker, American worker, passing by looking for a job. The boss say, leave your information, fill it up this form, and we call you back. But immigrant passing by, and the boss asks, you have a social security? He say, yes, but not the good one. And he say, okay, no problem, come to work tomorrow.
AFL-CIO, America's biggest union federation, supported IRCA back in the 80s, saying it would protect American workers. But over the years, the law backfired and hurt the American workers even more.
IRCA basically divided the working class against each other, making union organizing really difficult.
Within the building and construction trades, there are a lot of people who feel that their jobs are being threatened. And that tends to come from what we're seeing in the growth of non-union work. A lot of the buildings that are going up used to be mostly union buildings, with union workers. But now there's a lot of competition. Unionized trades feel very threatened by this.
With workers fighting each other in the race to the bottom, it is no wonder that unions are unable to grow and working conditions in general are getting worse.
The employers use employer sanctions against the workers and the workplaces that are most militant, like the ones that are organizing, with workplaces that are not organizing, well then usually the employees won't really check on your authorization to work.
Employer sanctions is a major contributing factor to the decline of the labor movement in the United States. It is a chain that separates us and locks us from fighting against exploitation together for our common interest.
Workers just end up blaming each other for having to compete against one another versus seeing that we're being pitted against one another.
Immigrant workers, we are super exploited, but conditions come down for citizen workers too.
Do we still allow ourselves to be chained? Or instead, come together to break the chains that keeps us down?
If we come together, we can repeal employer sanctions to organize for better conditions for every worker.
The only way out of this is for workers to come together and for people to be able to demand that all workers should have the equal right to organize.
All workers need the ability to organize and to fight for the conditions that they deserve better. We deserve better.
Across the country, more and more people are ready to stand up against the criminalization of immigrants, demand the right to organize for all workers, and fight to repeal employer sanctions. For we know that's the only way for us to unite as working people. It is the key to fight divisiveness, improve working conditions, and advance as a society that works for the majority, not the richest 1%. Are you ready to join our call?